I'll actually leverage a couple different groups for due diligence. One, I have my own engineer network and people that are here. So if I need to double check something from a technical due diligence part, there's plenty of people that I can just make some calls. Like today I have like a really nice builder community where I can just, ask them some base like technical questions. And if I need someone to go in deeper, like Onsen, I have plenty of people who can go in like very much deeper, including like taking apart code and everything. And so I've just built out this like really nice community over there. And so that's on like part of it's the due diligence part. The business model part, like after a certain amount of time, right? Like I can tell you which models work and doesn't work depending on the situation. Like I've made investments over 100 companies.
So as you mentioned, to make a connection with startup founders, besides you have to research what kind of newest technology or their technology or service product which has feel totally this company can success. I can introduce this client like make a decision. How do you kind of due diligence?
Yeah. So I think we have different ways of doing the underwriting, right? But and it depends on like what stage. In terms of like the actual partnerships, what's really great is not just at Singtel but also like at MS&AD, I'll actually leverage a couple different groups for due diligence. One, I have my own engineer network and people that are here. So if I need to double check something from a technical due diligence part, there's plenty of people that I can just make some calls. Like today I have like a really nice builder community where I can just, ask them some base like technical questions. And if I need someone to go in deeper, like Onsen, I have plenty of people who can go in like very much deeper, including like taking apart code and everything. But at that time I built out this group of people that I can like have them helping with diligence, but in return I support them. So I'm a very empathetic like leader, right? I think I spend a lot of time like liking to serve like people, serve humanity. And so I've just built out this like really nice community over there. And so that's on like part of it's the due diligence part. The business model part, like after a certain amount of time, right? Like I can tell you which models work and doesn't work depending on the situation. Like I've made investments over 100 companies. And I remember like just having a discussion with the founder. We were talking about like KPIs and what they need to hit for the next round of funding. And I know that he couldn't hit his KPI, or like I'm pretty sure he can't hit it. And I want him to hit it, right? And we were going back and forth. And the reason why it's because I've invested in similar business model like 5-6 other ones, and they always miss it on that point, right? And it's not a big deal, it's just like being prepared for it. But that comes from experience, right? When you work with enough of them. It's the same thing with like taking things go to market in Asia. My first year was like trying to figure everything out, but the second year I can understand what type of businesses make more sense, right? The margins, right? Whether the partnership actually makes sense or not. All those things you'll like over time, you just learn what works better and what doesn't. And I'm also naturally a very creative person, so I like figuring like out of the box answers for or solutions for things, and that's also part of fun. And that's why I really love this job. So I used to change jobs every like year or so. Every time I get bored, I'll change job. And this line of work I've been in for over a decade, because the topics, the problems we're solving is always changing. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And then, so after Singtel, you joined a Japanese VC firm based in here.
Yes. Part of the reason why I was interested in MS&AD was actually have not worked with Japanese culture before, and I did not work with insurance before either. But I met the two partners, and they were doing early stage investments. And so at Singtel, it was like 10 to 40 million, and then at MS&AD they were doing $1 to $3 million checks, but the volume was higher, but the checks were smaller. But then we would invest globally, and I just loved the world. So after I think we spoke to for 5-6 months or something, I made the decision to join MS&AD. And it was very really amazing. The style was very different. We had a lot of autonomy, and then I also had to learn about the Japanese culture, right? I had a lot of Japanese colleagues. I trained a lot of the trainees. The business practice there was very different than the Singaporeans. But MS&AD was also a global company. So I also did business and made investments in Europe. We did a lot of investments in Israel, Singapore, Southeast Asia, we did some as well. And then, of course, throughout US.
So from the accelerator and also Singaporean big CVC, Singtel, and also Japanese MSAD. So like several experience, and then took off in Japan in this winter, and then you started to your own company, Onsen Global. So if I remember correctly, your main clients are big corporate in global.
Yeah,
correct?
that's one of so that is one of the groups that I target. But I really focus on the reason why I kind of keep it loose is like at this age and what I do in my life, I really want to focus on things that are positive for the world, right? And I've been like this ever since I was younger. And I feel lucky that I've been trained as an asset manager, so I know how to make money. But deep down inside, I really, really care about humanity, right? And so both of those things are very, very important to me. So I like to build models that are effective and sustainable. And what I found is like a lot of the world is just like, oh, they waste money or sometimes like destroy different things. But what I want to do is kind of steer things in the direction of good for the world. And so that was exactly why I decided to build Onsen. And Onsen also is a platform where then allows me to work on essentially almost any project that I want to work on. I have a couple other advisors that are part of the group. Some of them are more like government heavy, right? And they'll target government, emerging markets, and I'll go and support them. I tend to do more on the corporate side. I also spend a lot of time with founders and with the startup community, just because I'm very experienced with like managing portfolio companies and this and that. So I'll go in and do that. I also do a lot more training and development. It's something that I love doing and I love mentoring. And so part of one of the offerings at Onsen is a training and development. So we do have kind of like the European Innovation Academy type programming, and that's run by another person. But I tend to do training for more on the executive level. Yeah, because I spend a lot of time, I understand the pain points of the executives a lot. And so they tend to bring me on as an advisor to just help guide them, especially when they're going into new markets and these different areas. Because oftentimes like they'll go and people are going to try to sell them these big packages, but what you need is maybe someone that is a little closer to them to just advise them and give them kind of the nuances of the day-to-day for a lot of the challenges, right? And so I focus so I get to do a lot of that work, which I really enjoy doing. Yeah,
I see. Thank you. For example, in our audience, maybe there are some corporate executive people or startup founders who need like your advice or help or want to join your some education program. So do you have some suggestions?
Yeah, so again, I think I mainly target on the executive level. For the founders, the best way is probably to go through my blog. I have a lot of advice for founders over there, and then I tend to work with the corporates or different organizations. They'll bring me in to kind of maybe support a group of like portfolio companies, so I can go in to do a training or something. But I would say I think my blog is probably the best place. It has a lot of like the 101 things to read on the founder side, and on the executive level, feel free to go ahead and reach out to me on LinkedIn. Yeah,
I see.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And today, end of July in 2025, 7 months in this year already gone. Bye bye. So, what is the rest of 2025? Do you have any plan or some milestones?
So I'm spending a lot of time in AI. I'm actually scouting some later stage investments that are AI native. We're looking for some investments on that front. I'm spending a lot of time with another group I'm advising that focus on very, very early stage startups. So I'm going to be very busy doing investments, spending a lot of time with the founders that I work with. But I'll probably have to go back to Taiwan and Japan again. I am now doing some writing opportunistically, I ended up going to Taiwan after Japan, and ethnically I'm Taiwanese, but I was born and raised here. But I started to kind of look at some of the things over there and where we can potentially bring more AI solutions over there. So that's one part. And then like with Japan, I feel like I'm in Japan every other month. We're in discussions of working on some projects actually to train Japanese founders. This is a big change for Japan. Before, Japan has always been like, oh, I want to do stuff in like have an American do American stuff, right? But the last year, actually, there've been more and more Japanese requesting to go and train Japanese founders, which is a very big change. Yeah. And so there's a couple of projects that potentially would be go to work with the corporations there, but it's actually to train Japanese founders, not only there, but also here in the US. So I think the government's been doing a pretty big push, and I'm actually seeing the corporation is very supportive of it as well. And then, Taiwan and Japan is naturally very natural, good relationships and business partnerships over there. And of course, Singapore. Yeah.
I see. It's super cool. And like me, the person who love to learn about AI and also entrepreneurial education, but didn't join any organization. So can we join your some like talk or program? What do you think?
I do a lot of different programmings and talks and everything. I find that the best way is actually to kind of figure out what you're good at and what role you want to play, right? Like if you're not a builder, then you're, maybe you're doing like sales or evangelist or whatever it is. Understand like what you're really good at. People in Silicon Valley are just very collaborative, right? For the technical founders that I mentor, they tend to go and want to focus more on like, how to do sales and everything. And then for the people who are non-technical, right, they're usually figuring out like how to collaborate better with the engineers, right? Because the engineers, they tend to, it's a stereotype, but there's like a certain personality type, and and I work very well with builders, right? I make them feel very comfortable. I take good care of them. And I find like it's also a good role. So usually a lot of teams, you have 2 engineers with 1 non-technical, and they go round and round and build different things, right? Yeah.
I see. Thank you so much. So if our audience want to reach out to you, so your blog and also LinkedIn is the best place?
Those are the best places to reach out to me. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I can put the link.
Yeah. Yeah.
And lastly, do you have any pain points currently? If so, maybe I could help you, or our audience also could help you.
I just want people to do good for the world and be happy. So I think go out there, do your best. If you're building a startup that's gonna be massive, please come and find me. Or any interesting startups that are AI native, ready to go to market into Asia, please also come find me. Yeah.
Thank you so much. By the way, can I do kind of lightning questions?
Yeah.
Maybe 3 or 4.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you so much. What is your fun fact?
My fun fact is I really like country music and trap shooting, and I really love mentoring founders. So.
Speaking of music, if I remember correctly, in this January or winter, you did experimentation to make music by AI, right?
So I've always really, really loved music. Actually, when I left my last firm, I decided to take a little bit of time off. And the first thing I thought about doing was maybe going to Nashville to learn songwriting. But what ended up happening was I found all these AI apps, right? And now, like, between the LLMs and all these, like, AI tools, like, you could essentially build a song in less than a minute, and it's really been amazing. And so I listen to a pretty wide genre of music. Like, I grew up on rap and hip hop in San Francisco, but I like, Japanese, Taiwanese, Inca music. And so I started actually remixing them, and it comes up with some, pretty interesting music when you put everything together.
Amazing, Tiffany. I know nowadays mash up is a kind of popular culture, right? Like I know some US hip hop musicians are finding 80s Japanese music and then like mash you up. Oh, how cool. So, okay, I'm curious. Which music software did you use to create your unique music?
So the one that I use is Suno. Suno has been really great to use. You buy. I never use up all my credits, but you can make a bunch of songs. It's really funny because just like a lot of the generative AI solutions, it takes 1 minute to make the song, but you could take 2 hours trying to edit, one little piece to get it perfect. But it's been great. I make songs for my friends. I make songs for my family, and just to capture different moments because I just like, as someone who just really loved music, it's just been a really great way to express yourself.
Thank you. And Tiffany, if I remember correctly, after experimentation to make music, you supposed to go to Nashville, but actually you went to Japan, correct?
Even though I actually worked for a Japanese company for over 5 years, and I actually spent quite a bit of time in Tokyo, but a lot of them were in the corporate offices, and we had really nice dinners, and just really enjoyed my time there. I never actually got to vacation in Japan. So the first thing I did was actually go to Japan and I went to visit a bunch of onsens and different sites, and really kind of took off that corporate hat and just like looked at Japan from a completely different lens. And just, I love Japan, whether it was through work or through personal. Yeah, it's one of my favorite places in the world.
So I assume you like onsen. So which onsen do you like most so far?
Yeah, I think I haven't been to enough onsens to really say that I have a favorite one, but I went to like Izu, or Izu, like that region, and it was just very different, right? So I decided to skip the mainstream and went to a more rural area, and I just found that it was just really lovely, and I got to really experience the culture from a completely different light. And there, when I was like talking to some of the people locally, they kind of explained how the onsens work, right? So I'm used to using the bath salts and everything, and you use it to relax, but I think like you have to stay with it for a certain amount of time, and then it just really relieves your stress, right? And you feel very renewed. And I remember I have a bunch of Japanese trainees, and for Japanese people, it's very normal to have onsen baths every day, like very normal. You just go take a bath, right? But in America, like we don't have that culture here. So yeah, that was one of the things I just really fell in love with. Yeah.
I see. Thank you so much. And during this vacation in Japan, you found the idea to make Onsen Global.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
could you please share about it?
Yeah. So, like originally, so afterwards, I found out I just absolutely love onsens, and I love hot springs in general. But then I really thought about what I wanted to do. So initially, I actually built out this whole business plan to build a kind of an onsen roll up, and I gave it to, I shared it with one of my friends. He actually went and purchased an onsen, and he's actually doing a onsen roll up for real. What? Yes. But I hadn't taken a break for so long, and I kind of fell into tech and venture maybe like 12, 13 years ago, and I absolutely love it. But then when I finally allowed myself to take a break, I was like, what am I really gonna do? And then I decided that, I just love tech and venture so much, so I like jumped back in. And so part of the inspiration came from the name, like the onsen name, the hot springs, but it also stands for always on, always sensing, because part of what I do and what my team does is we're always looking at the latest and newest technology. And the other reason why I decided to choose like onsen is because I think Japan is just like, there's a lot of things, like I spent a lot of time in Singapore as well, Japan, and now lately Taiwan, and obviously US being American. But I think there's like something just really nice about the Japanese culture, and I wanted to be able to capture the good parts of it and then add it as part of the name of my company. And I think a lot of people who, especially Japanese people, who kind of see the name just really appreciate it. Yeah.
So, what is your superpower?
My superpower, I think it's my ability to network and understand people. That's something like I'm naturally very empathetic and I care a lot about people, and I think people understand that, right? And so actually when I was younger, people always say, oh, it's a point of weakness, especially for business. And what I found is like, yeah, in business you have these like people that will like calculate down to every cent, and I might not be the fastest at it. I could do business and I'm trained in it, but actually I find people really like working with me because I am empathetic, right? So
Optimistic.
I'm also generally optimistic, except Sundays. I think about, oh my gosh, everything is gonna go wrong, but Monday I'm always optimistic. And I just have this like never ending amount of energy where like every Monday I just feel like, okay, I'm gonna go on, take on the world and just do things that I think will make the world better. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Okay, so what is the work in your definition?
Work,
Yes.
work, like WORK.
Yeah, W.
What is work?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just like having so much fun that I just I think a lot of people observe me and they ask me why I work so much, right? But I'm just kind of in this state of flow of happiness. I'm answering calls with my founders, networking with the other VCs, and then spending time with my builders, and then catching up with my friends and family. And I get to talk to people around there. Sometimes it gets a little bit tiring, so I need a break sometimes. But I think there's just like this natural flow of like what I'm working on and building that I just feel really happy. So when I think of work, I actually think of like happiness. Yeah.
I love that. Okay. What else? So I know many startup founders who comes from a engineer background. They are good at build, but they are not good at sales. They are struggling to get the first paid customer.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice?
Yeah. So not all engineers are the same. I'll tell you, I'm working with these two engineers where they're actually Japanese founders. Their English is not the best, but I love working with them because they are very AI native. They're strong builders, and they're very responsive. So we text each other every day. Can you imagine that? And we, like every time they ask me something, we answer quickly. They'll go and implement right away. And so I love working with the engineers that can, move quickly. When it comes to sales, right, I always teach not just the engineers, but anyone to lead with your strengths, right? So if you're naturally more, like I'm fairly extroverted. I just like being around people. So I'm running around, right? Like I genuinely love it. If you're more naturally introverted, what I found, like for both for VCs and founders, is you can also sit down and just write more. You build relationships very differently. Now, it's really bad to try to be like me if you're introverted, or if I try to be more introverted. So you really need to lead from your strengths. And it's the same thing with the engineers, right? For engineers, like there's some organizations that are very, very engineering heavy. So what I see for a lot of the Gen AI startups, they actually automate out the sales function, the human part.
Really?
Yes. So they completely automate it end to end, so you don't have to talk to a human being.
Like an AI agent.
It doesn't even have to be an AA agent. Who did you talk to when you bought like Zoom? Zoom. Did you pay? Did you talk to someone?
No.
Exactly.
Because of almost all infrastructure, Zoom is.
Yeah. Is you swipe your credit card and you pay for it.
Yeah.
Right? So when I was training or mentoring the two engineers, I was like, no matter what, your English is not gonna get. It's gonna get better if you practice, but in 8 weeks, it's not gonna change so much, right? And so I advise them to build the solution so you don't have to talk to people. And you know what? A/B testing. It doesn't matter what language you're doing it in, right? because you can learn. And with all the generative AI too, they could do it in English. Like they've been posting and testing everything in English actually. And so leading with your strengths. And I can tell you, an engineer will go to extra lengths if they do not want to talk to people to automate everything out so they don't have to talk to people, right? And so, and then for like, and you'll see this through actually from the DNA of the founding team, right? If they're more kind of people oriented, they might build it a certain way. If they're more engineer, right? And there's no right or wrong, right? It's about like leading from your strengths. Yeah.
I see. It's good because of so I come from Japanese education, so we want to aim kind of everything okay. But for example, I hate mathematics, but I had to fix mathematics. I love drawing, I love reading, writing, but mathematics, hate. That's why I feel, I am not a very lazy person. But as you mentioned, had better to focus on the most like my strength is maybe can become a niche or special person.
Yeah, so what I've done is like I was okay in math, right? But what I did was, it was just more enjoyable for me to go and do things outside. So I did learn how to code without AI, right? Like normal coding, right? And I built a very simple Android app. I think maybe that's a decade ago or something. I don't know, but that was very helpful because I understood how the engineer mind worked, right? And so I learned like just enough to understand that I will never hire me as an engineer, right? But because of that, I work with a lot of engineers, right? I understand what they're going through. I understand the nuances of like what they care about, don't care about, and frankly, what they hate. And where my value proposition came in was I basically did all the things that they hated. They didn't want to deal with the people. They didn't want to get stuck in weird conversations. I don't mind them. I'll go in and I'll talk to the people and help, move things along in a certain direction. And so you really need to find teams that are very complementary. Right? So if you go to a place, like if you're non-technical and let's say you're more of a salesperson, if you go to an organization where like there's 10 engineers and 100 salespeople, it might not be you're not unique, right?
You are right.
But if you go to an organization that has like 90 engineers and there's only 10 salespeople, you could actually be very useful because there's a lot more engineers, right? Potentially, right? But so I always spend my time thinking about where I can make the most impact. Yeah, because there's also a lot of engineering orgs that unfortunately there's too many engineers, right? So actually, and I didn't realize this, but like there were engineers that even want to move into product management, and it's just like so hard for them, right? And especially if they're a very good engineer, they're like, we don't want you to lose you on the engineering team, right? And they kind of get their own version of stuck, right? And as someone who's like non-technical, I was like, oh wow, like I also understand their pain, right? And so actually if they want to move into the product role, they have to take one step back and look at it from a more holistic perspective, and it's a different muscle, right?
Different muscle.
Yeah, and then like people like that are more creative tends to be better at that, right? And so I would still go and learn enough skills to bridge some of the gap, but then again, lead from your strengths.
I see.
Yeah.
This is amazing wisdom. Please take a note. I see. Yeah, thank you so much for your wonderful time today, Tiffany.
For sure. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Okay, so please check her LinkedIn and also check the blog. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye. The 3 key takeaways from the conversation with Tiffany, part 2. 1. Due diligence is powered by community experience. Tiffany leverages a trusted network of engineers and industry experts for technical due diligence, combining their input with her own track record of investing in over 100 companies. Years of pattern recognitions allow her to quickly assess which business model work and which common pitfalls founders should prepare for. 2. Lead from your strength. Her advice to both technical and non-technical founders: don't force yourself to excel in everything. Instead, double down on what you do best and find complementary team members. For engineers who dislike sales, this might mean building a fully automated acquisition process. For non-technical founders, it could mean focusing on people skills and relationship building that engineers may avoid. 3. Building Onsen Global around purpose. Onsen Global was designed as a platform to work on projects that are both commercially viable and beneficial for the world. Tiffine works with corporations, governments, and founders, providing executive training, advising on new market entry, and supporting AI-native startups ready to expand into Asia, always with the goal to steering resource toward positive global impact. Okay, thank you so much for listening to our episode today. We hope this conversation will help your future and career. If you like it, please subscribe us and give you a like. Okay, thank you so much. Bye bye. またね。チャオ。